footsteps of students searching for books. Wayne and Orson were sitting in the corner surrounded by towering bookcases. "Orson, are you listening to me?" she snapped at him, who was immersed in his phone. Yeah, he kept the phone aside and avoided his attention on her. "What did I say just now?" she asked in a serious tone. "You said, are you listening to me?" He grinned, making her clench her jaw. "Orson, don't get on my nerves. Focus here. Don't hype up. You are explaining the equation." She let out a sigh. "At least you know we are here to study math," she mumbled, fixing her gaze on the notebook before her. "So let's take it step by step. As the teacher said, we can use techniques like factoring, completing the square, or even the quadratic formula to solve these equations. We just need to understand how to use each." She stopped looking at Orson. He was smiling at his phone like a fool. Wayne picked the book and hit him on the head, taking him off guard. "What the hell are you doing?" she whispered while Orson passed her a glare. That was hard. He rubbed his head. "You know what, Orson? I'm done with you. I have been barking like a dog and you can't get enough of your phone." She leaned on the chair, rubbing her temples. "Darren had texted me," he said with a pout. "Only if you hadn't failed 2 years in a row, you would have been in university with her rather than a high school," she said amiably, picking up her books and stood. Orson stood, following her out of the library. "How could I leave you alone here?" he said with a wink. "I fear you'll be left alone here this year," Orson chuckled. "I hear studies, but no one understands that. I want to join basketball." He shrugged his shoulders, walking alongside her. She just hummed in response. "Well, you can help me with that." Wayne stopped and passed him a questioning gaze. "You can talk to him. I bet he won't refuse you." She stared at him for a while and chuckled. "No way, instead he will snap at me. Sometimes I wonder if he is the long-lost brother of Elsa. He's such a cool snowman," she said and began walking. Orson smiled, shaking his head. "Only if you know how much he likes you," he mumbled inaudibly. "He's not cool, you are witness to that. By the way, listen, Wayne, I wanted to ask you, do those students still bully you?" She thought for a while and shook her head in denial. "Are you sure?" "Yeah, I am. By the way, the class is about to start. I'll see you later," she said, looking at him, and turned to move when she bumped into a student and stumbled. Orson swiftly held her while the student walked away, apologizing. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine." She moved away, adjusting her long hair, which was tied in a high pony. "I'll come over tonight to have some fun." He stopped and leaned closer. "Let's irritate your husband, dear sister-in-law," he whispered into her ear, staring at her hair. No wonder why he was so crazy about her hair, he thought with a smile, not knowing a pair of hopes were not seen there each and every move with a burning gaze. "Your brother will throw you out of the house. Last time you broke his laptop. Remember how badly he had hit you," she said in a low tone and walked towards her classroom. At night, Taehyung has hired the same driver for them as he doesn't want to send Wayne alone. Wayne thinks maybe her in-laws were worried about her safety and didn't want her to go alone. Today on the way back from school, Orson stayed with Wayne instead of going back home. He wanted to watch some movies and play games, but Wayne forced him to study. He angrily said he won't go to school tomorrow as Wayne made him study so much. He didn't have dinner as he had to take Darren on a date tonight. Now it was past 10:30 p.m. when Taehyung arrived home. He saw the maid walking towards the kitchen. He eagerly approached her, hoping to find out if Wayne had already eaten. "Rosa, where is Wayne?" "She's in the room, sir." "Did she have dinner?" he asked, hoping to eat with her. "Yes, sir, she had." Disappointment washed over him. He had been looking forward to sharing a meal with her, but now his hunger seemed to vanish. He just nodded, and with a sigh he made his way to the shared bedroom, where he found Wayne peacefully sleeping. He couldn't help but smile at the sight of her, even though his appetite had disappeared. Without making a noise, Taehyung walked into the washroom to freshen up. After a few moments, he came out and tousled across She bit her lower lip, and maybe he wants you to complete your high school, then he would take any further steps in this relationship. He said, shrugging his shoulders. Are you giving me false hope? Orson let out a sigh. No way, okay, just think of it this way. Have you ever felt something strange about him? Or something he does? She bit her nails, thinking deeply. When I wake up in the morning, I usually find my hair tied up while I sleep with my hair up. She stopped with wide eyes. Oh my god, why didn't I notice that? See, I wasn't giving you false hope. At least trust me for once. He waved his hand in the air, stuffing the fries in his mouth. Wine smiled like a fool. I'll never even trim my hair. She thought smiling like a fool, but soon her smile faded as someone pulled her into a bone, crushing her, snapping her back to the present. I missed you so much, Wine screamed in her ear. Easy, I can't breathe. Easy pulled out of the grin. I missed you too. She hugged her gently. Well, it doesn't seem so. Why were you smiling like a love single just now? Izzy pulled out and asked curiously. Wine cleared her throat, looking away. I wasn't smiling. You might have seen someone else. She shrugged her shoulders. Wine, I have been with you since childhood. You can't lie to me. She narrowed her eyes. Well, you are right. I was smiling because Wine told her everything as Izzy was the only person who knew about her marriage other than Orson. Oh, congratulations, Wine. She sighed, hugged her. They began walking towards the classroom. By the way, Wine, did Sonia or Jaden bully you while I was not here? She was glaring at Sonia, who was entering the class while taking out her tongue at them. No, not really. Easy from. Isn't that strange? I mean, they won't live without bullying you. Wine nodded in agreement. Who knows, they might have thought to back off and stop all this. They both entered the classroom where Jaden, Sonia, and their gang had joined heads and discussing something. They stopped as soon as they saw Izzy and Wine. No way, Wine, they are not so good people. They must have something in their mind. You must be careful. Izzy whispered to her worriedly. Wine nodded, feeling uneasy. Time skip. It was school dispersal time. Wine and Izzy were packing their bags when a student came and told Izzy that she had to clean the library on the third floor. What the hell, why would they say it now? She said annoyingly after the student walked away. It's alright, go and finish it fast so we can leave together. She picked up her bag. Where are you going? I'll just use the washroom. Izzy nodded. Both of them walked out of the classroom. Wine walked to the washroom. After a few moments, she came out and stood before the sink washing her hands. She was lost in a deep thought, thinking to talk to Taehyung tonight. The thought itself made her nervous. She smiled, but soon her smile faded, feeling a hand sliding under her skirt. She turned back with wide eyes where Jaden was standing with a smile. What the hell was that? And what are you doing in the girls' washroom? She said, raising her voice at him. He chuckled. She wanted to wipe off the smirk from his face. Baby girl, I have been waiting for this moment for so long. He said, stepping forward. Her forehead became dotted with the tiny droplets of sweat while her body trembled, knowing he wasn't having any good intentions. Wine rushed to the door with numb feet, but Alex and Adrian stood in her way along with Sonia. Jaden grabbed her by the arm and pulled her back. Let go of me. You're closing your lips, Jaden, she said, wiggling in his grip, feeling disgusted by his touch. Nah, baby girl. Orson was closer than this. Wasn't he closing his lips? He muttered through gritted teeth and tore off her shirt. Wine raised her hand and placed a harsh slap on his face. Jaden held his face and looked at her. She placed another slap on his face, taking him off guard, which he mumbled while all his friends gasped. Wine covered herself while crying. You're the most disgusting person I have ever seen. She cried. Jaden strode to her, let the hold of her. He said to Alex and Adrian before Wine could understand. They held her by the arms while Sonia chuckled. Let me show you how disgusting I can be, he said with a smirk and reached out his hand. He trailed his fingers from her neck to cleavage. Wine stopped wiggling in their grip and kicked Jaden in the stomach. She didn't know how she became so brave. All she knew was she had to save herself. Jaden composed himself and stepped forward without giving her a chance to understand. He punched her on the jaw, making her hiss. You shouldn't be treated softly. Does anyone want to teach her a lesson? Alex and Adrian released her. Wait, I'll bring something, she said and walked out while Jaden punched her on the stomach, making her fall. He cried. harshly released her hair while Wine shook her head in denial weakly. As Sonia stepped forward, Wine tried to protest. Hold her hands, Jaden and Alex held her hands. No, please, she whispered while Sonia cut her hair. Sonia moved away, waving the long hair strands in front of her eyes. Your beautiful hairs are gone. She stood while Wine was in a state of shock. She couldn't even move. Look at yourself. Sonia made her stand in front of the mirror. Wine quickly shook her head in denial with a numb mind and looked away, but Sonia forced her to look at her messed up hair. Some hair was too long, while some were too short. Wine felt sick to the stomach. Sonia pushed her onto the floor and walked out, followed by Adrian, Alex, and Jaden. Wine crawled and picked up her hair, which was scattered. She wanted to cry, but tears won't come out. She wanted to scream, but her voice was stuck in her throat. She didn't know how much time had passed since she was sitting still until 𝐂𝐶 rushed in, who was searching for Wine as her driver had arrived and Wine was now left. Well, the librarian said 𝐂𝐶 wasn't having the duty to clean the library. Wine, she called her out, but her heart dropped seeing her state. Her shirt was torn off. She was staring at her hair. What happened? 𝐂𝐶 heard herself whisper. She sat in front of her and lifted her face. Wine stared at her blankly. What is this? Who did this? Say something, Wine. She held her by the shoulders and began shaking her. Sonia and Jaden, right? Tears began rolling down 𝐂𝐶's eyes, seeing Wine stare. 𝐂𝐶 quickly took off her zipper hoodie and wrapped it around her. I will call Taehyung or Orson, 𝐂𝐶 said instead. Wine held her hand and shook her head in denial. I want to go home, she whispered. 𝐂𝐶 sniffled and nodded. She held her stand and put on the hood on her head. Time skip. 𝐂𝐶 arrived at Wine's house with her. Wine silently went to the other room instead of their shared bedroom. 𝐂𝐶 brought her clothes to change while Wine was still holding onto the hair. 𝐂𝐶 somehow sent her to the washroom while keeping away the hair. 𝐂𝐶 went to the kitchen and took the lunch from the maid and told her that Wine said to tell the maid to go back to the clinic saying she has to study combined with 𝐂𝐶 until evening. 𝐂𝐶 came back to the room with the tray. Wine was staring at the hair blankly. Wine, eat something so that I can give you a painkiller, she said, gulping the lump in her throat and trying hard not to cry, seeing her in this state. 𝐂𝐶 knew how much Wine loved her hair. Wine, I'm talking to you, say something please. She shook her shoulder. Fine, I'll call Taehyung and tell him everything. She stood and swiftly held her hand. You won't call anyone, she said in a loud tone. 𝐂𝐶 let out a sigh. Look at your condition, Wine. We need to see the doctor. Your cheeks are swollen. Don't you feel any pain? You can't hide anything from Taehyung. Wine shook her head in denial, fixing her gaze on her empty palms. Taehyung couldn't care, I know. There's no use to tell him anything. He liked my hair, which is no more now. 𝐂𝐶 frowned. Do you even know what you're saying? She let out a sigh, remembering something. I know whenever you get bullied, you can feel disheartened. She hugged her. This time I wasn't bullied. I was sick. She closed her eyes tightly, leaving the sentence incomplete. You haven't told me what actually happened. Wine stayed silent. It's okay. Just leave it. Please tell Orson not to disturb me, and if Taehyung asks about me, tell him I'm studying and don't want any disturbance. Time skip. Taehyung arrived home late. Rosa informed him about Wine. He just nodded as he was really exhausted and walked to his bedroom. The empty bedroom was suffocating him. He went to the other room and was about to knock on the door, but stopped thinking something and walked back to the shared bedroom. The next day, Taehyung woke up later than his usual time and freshened up. He walked to the dining room where Rosa was taking out breakfast. Rosa, has Wine gone? No, sir, she hasn't come out of the room since last night. Maybe want to skip the school. Taehyung frowned as it is rare that Wine skips school. Even if she does, she wakes up early. Taehyung walked up to the room and knocked the door. Wine opened the door. He knocked, but there was no response. After a few attempts, he asked Rosa to bring the spare keys. He felt something was not right. With the keys in his hand, he opened the door and stepped into the dimly lit room. The curtains had been drawn and the lights were off. As he entered, he gazed at the silhouette of Wine's curled up figure under the duvet on the bed. Wine, he called her out and pulled back the curtains, letting in some light. He walked to her side and pulled the duvet. Wine was staring blankly at the invisible point. Wine, he placed his hand on her thigh and shook her, making her flinch. house along while others were cut short in a messy manner. One swiftly held onto the hood to hide it, but Taehyung held her hand. "What is this? Who did it?" he asked through gritted teeth, but she remained silent. He stood letting out a long breath and began pacing back and forth. "I asked you something, wine, tell me, damn it," he growled, kicking the table, one flinch, covering her ears with her palms. Taehyung sucked in the air, taking long breaths. He found himself sliding out his phone and called the doctor. He sat near her and clenched his jaws, seeing her bruised cheeks. "Who did this?" he asked softly and reached out his hand to her chin, lifting her fist. She bit her lower lip to stop her sob. He gently placed his hand on her cheek and stroked it. Silent tears rolled down her eyes. Taehyung closed his eyes and pushed his lips into a thin line. He pulled her closer. She cried hysterically on his chest. He trailed his fingers in her hair and stared at them with agony and longing. "Stop crying, the doctor will be here any minute," she sniffed, pulling out and pulled back the hood to hide her hair. "Let's go to our room." He scooped her in his arms and walked to their shared bedroom. He gently placed her on the bed and stood, but one held his hand. "Jaden and Sonia bullied me in school," she whispered. Taehyung sat holding her hand. "Sonia cut my hair and Jaden, he touched me inappropriately," she said, waving hiccups. Taehyung clenched his fist. "Where was Orson?" he asked in a serious tone. "He didn't come to school." "Why didn't you tell me yesterday? Instead you were hiding and lied that you were studying," she sniffed, wiping her face. "I thought you wouldn't care." He let out a sigh. "We'll talk about it later." Rosa knocked on the door and said the doctor is here. Taehyung asked her to send him. "You also stay here," she mumbled, holding his hand in her both hands. Taehyung nodded while the doctor came in. He carefully examined her and administered an injection. He prescribed some medicines and advised Taehyung to take good care of her and make sure she takes enough rest. Taehyung sat with wine until she fell asleep. He stood making sure she was asleep and made his way out, thinking something. Time skipped. Taehyung walked out of the house, driving aimlessly to calm himself, but wine still kept flashing before his eyes. He received a call from 𝐂𝐮𝐞𝐧, who informed him why he was being bullied. Soon he found himself pulling up in front of his parents' house. The vein in his forehead and neck popped out of anger. He barged into the house where Mrs. Kim was scrolling through her phone while Mr. Kim was watching the news. "Orson," he growled, making them flinch. Mrs. Kim placed her hand on her chest. Both of them stood worriedly. "Orson, come out," he growled again. "Taehyung, what happened?" She walked towards him while Orson walked downstairs. Taehyung marched towards him. "What happened, Hyung? Why are you?" Taehyung's punch cut him off. "Bastard, I advised you several times to look after mine. You knew she was being bullied. Then why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you go to school yesterday?" He was continuously punching him. Mr. Kim released Orson from his grip. "What is this thing? You can talk calmly rather than being violent." He pushed him while Mrs. Kim held Orson, whose nose were bleeding. "Dad," Mr. Kim slapped him, cutting him off. Mrs. Kim gasped, "Don't raise your voice at me. I'm your father. You don't have to become my father." He roared. Taehyung closed his lips into thin line. Everyone went silent until Orson spoke. "Taehyung, what happened to him?" Taehyung ran his fingers through his hair and let out a sigh. "Speak up, just now you were yelling." Taehyung looked at him, hearing his stern tone. "I don't know, she's being bullied." They cut off her hair and his voice turned hoarse. He closed his eyes and let out a sigh. Mr. Kim stepped forward and embraced him. Taehyung hugged him tightly, finding solace in his embrace. "I don't know what to do, Dad," he mumbled. Mr. Kim patted his back. "That's all your fault. You haven't given her the position of a wife. Stop complaining." He shook his head and stood. Taehyung pulled out and walked towards him. "I'm sorry, Orson. I shouldn't have hit you." Orson interrupted him. "But you wanted to take out your anger and you saw me as a punching bag. You always do this, Hyung. Buy a punching bag for yourself." "But Dad hit me for you." He took out a handkerchief from his pocket and wiped the blood from his nose. "I didn't slap you for him. That was for raising your voice at me." "You deserve a good beating, Taehyung. For a moment I thought you had gone insane." He hugged Orson, who was wiggling. "Wine's condition made me go insane. Orson embraced him in a bone-crushing hug. You should have killed those bullies rather than beating me. You're suffocating me. You deserve it, Hyung. You have no right to complain. Orson released him. How is Wine, Taehyung? Why did you leave her alone in the house? She's sleeping. I asked Rosa to inform me immediately if she woke up. He said, rubbing his temple, and sat on the sofa. Mrs. Kim asked the maid to bring an ice bag for Orson, who lay on Taehyung's lap. Hyung, will Wine be mad at me? He asked, looking at him. Why she would be mad at you? You didn't do anything, and why are you lying like this? Get up. Orson rolled his eyes, taking the ice bag from the maid. Then why did you hit me? He shook his head. Taehyung, Wine needs you the most right now. You should be with her. He just hummed in response. A few hours later, Wine woke up in the empty bed. She glanced at the wall clock. It was past 7 p.m. She got out of the bed when the door opened, revealing Rosa. When you're up, I'll inform sir. She was about to walk out, but Wine stopped her. Where is he? She asked hesitantly, still feeling the pain in her jaw. I don't know. He just asked me to inform him when you woke up, and he walked out of the house. Wine just nodded while Rosa walked out. Wine's gaze landed on the mirror. She stood in front of the mirror and stared at herself, thinking something. She took a scissor from the drawer and cut off the long strands. The door opened again, revealing Taehyung. She turned towards him. How are you feeling? He asked, approaching her, and placed his arm on her forehead to check her temperature, which was normal. I'm good, she mumbled, lowering her gaze. Taehyung glanced at the scissor on the dressing table and the hair strands fallen on the floor. Where did you go? She asked hesitantly while Rosa entered with the girl. You send her, she'll give you a haircut. Wine just nodded. Soon the hairstylist gave her a proper haircut. Wine stared at her shoulder-cut hair. Taehyung came out of the washroom and stood behind her. It looks good now, he said, holding her by the shoulder. Wine fixed her gaze on him. Are you sure? Yeah, don't you like it? No, I mean, I have never cut it so short. It feels weird, I guess. But I didn't expect it to look nice. Taehyung told her to face him and rubbed her face. It's better to do something different sometimes. Wine just nodded. Wine, she hummed in response, looking at him. Why did you think I wouldn't care? Because you might not like me. I felt like I'm just a burden to you. When I get bullied, I just get disheartened by everyone. She spoke in a low tone, looking down. Why do you feel that way? He lifted her face and looked into her eyes. When I used to tell my parents about being bullied, they didn't care. I don't blame them, as it might be hard for them to look after 4 kids. Besides, we are not like a normal couple. Taehyung pressed his forehead against her. I wanted to take it easy. I didn't want to distract you from your studies, as I have hurried our marriage. You're still a student. She held his hands. You worried? He nodded. Yeah, for you it was an arranged marriage, but not for me. He kissed her forehead with devotion. I'm your wife first, then I'm a student. Let's work on our relationship rather than talking about the past, which can't be changed. Wine nodded with a smile and held him tight, burying her face in his chest. A few days later, with the passing days, Wine is getting better. He never leaves her side for a moment. Mr. and Mrs. Kim also came to see her, but Orson didn't come, making her wonder if he knew what happened to her. Now Taehyung had gone somewhere, and Wine was sitting in the living room, reading a novel, when she heard loud voices coming from the main door. She looked at the main door, assuming it to be Orson in their room. Now listen to me. Wine smiled, seeing them arguing or something. Then restores Wine. My baby, how are you? She embraced her in a bone-crushing hug. My kids will be your babies, he said with a grin, only to earn a glare from there, and she put out, holding Wine by shoulders. This haircut suits you a lot, Wine, she said with lit eyes. Wine passed her a smile and glanced at Orson, who was standing with her part. Her eyes widened, seeing his condition. He had a bandage under his right eye. His left eye was purple, while a bandage was wrapped around his head as well. Oh my God, Orson, what happened to you? Who did this? She asked with wide eyes, then opened her mouth to speak, but Orson passed her a warning look. Leave it, tell me about yourself. How are you? I'm fine, but who did this to you? She placed her palm on her mouth. Orson made a pitiful face. Hyung did this. She passed him a confused look while Darren sat, shaking her head in disbelief. You think I wouldn't come to see my best friend? I was in hospital today. I got discharged and came here to see you right away, he said with fake tears. Why would Taehyung do this? Disbelief evident in her voice, because he had asked waiting for Taehyung to return. She felt her eyelids heavy and soon she went into deep slumber. And felt a gentle soft touch caressing her face. Opening her eyes, she was met with the tender sight of Taehyung leaning over her, pressing a loving kiss on her forehead. The warmth of his affection enveloped her, filling her heart with a sense of comfort and security. "You're back," she said, touching his face, making sure she wasn't dreaming. Taehyung kissed her hand. Yes, he slipped into the duvet with her and wrapped his arms around her, burying his face in her neck. "Had anyone come while I was away?" he asked, remembering the messy living room. "Yes, Orson and Darren." "As expected," she heard him say. Taehyung moved away. Orson's condition flashed before her eyes. She gently pushed him, making him frown. "What happened? Why did you hit Orson so badly? That poor guy was hospitalized and you didn't even tell me," she pulled out. "What? Orson was hospitalized? When? Why don't I know?" he said confusingly. "Stop acting strange. You had hit him because you asked him to look after me, but he skipped school that day," she said with a pained expression. "My innocent wife, he made you fool. Except I hit him, but those were just a few punches. He wasn't hospitalized, believe me. Call mom if you don't believe me." He held onto her and said. "Then his purple eye and bandages," she said confusingly. A laugh erupted from Taehyung's throat. "He fooled you." Wang glared at him and switched to the other side. But Taehyung held her and turned her to face him. "Keep laughing. Why did you stop?" she said mockingly. "I am not laughing anymore, see." He pecked her lips, but she kept glaring at him with a pout. He pecked her paw, constantly making her smile. "Stop." She placed her hand on his mouth. "You did hit him because of me." He kissed her palm and quickly moved it away. "That's like me for him as well," splashing a big kick.